One of the things I love about circus is that it makes you look at the world around you differently. It makes you look at gravity differently, or at the human body, or just let you look at the world in a more playful way. Is it necessary? Maybe not. But sure as hell is joyful. And this playfulness is what Henri&Batist from Jam Shenanigans will tell you all about. This is episode 3 of the second season of Circus Whispers, a podcast by Tent House for Contemporary Circus, hosted by me, Maaike Muis. Each episode, I interview circus makers who get the opportunity in the Maker for a Week program of Tent to do circus research. This week's Makers for a Week, Henri&Batist with Jam Shenanigans.
There's this seriousness, but there's this super playfulness in what we do, and in everything in life. I think it's kind of a game, it's kind of something we're playing with. And I think for me it's really about sharing and celebrating my inner child and the inner child of the audience without it being childish. It's such a tool for creativity and for new ideas and new perspectives, so I think that's kind of the core of this project for me, at least.
But first, let's look at a different aspect of the program of Maker for a Week in this Circus Whispers, namely the support they get from Tent. I asked Jayet Metin, one of the directors of Tent, about it.
My role in the Tent Collective is, first of all, I'm one of the 3 joint CEOs. And within that, I am responsible for the finances and the legal part and the technical part. Besides my role as a CEO, I also help and support makers, specifically the Makers for a Week and the Makers for 2 years. Yesterday I picked them up at the subway station here in Amsterdam North, and I saw them standing from a distance. I approached them with the car, and I saw them with 3 transparent boxes filled to the edge with toys. So it made me very curious what they will do. And then I showed them their studio, talk with them about the planning of the week. And this is also something that we already do by email before they arrive. But during the week, I check in with them every now and then. So this afternoon, I will definitely go by the studio, see how they're doing, if there's anything they need. If they need me to, I will bring them fresh bread, whatever they need. And on top of that, I organize the presentation moment. I keep an eye on who is coming. We invite a lot of people, professionals and non-professionals, to come and watch the show, or the presentation, I mean. I do the after talk. So
Do you make popcorn as well?
I don't, but I do bring some drinks, some beers. Yeah.
And why did Tent choose Henri&Batist as Makers for a Week?
When they were still in school, they started this collaboration called Jam Shenanigans, and if I'm correct, it started as an online thingy. So they did playful things while in school. After school hours, they tested things, they tried out things, and they made little videos of that and then posted that on their Instagrams. And it was already so fresh and so playful and so funny to watch that I started following them. Later, they applied for a Maker for a Week, and I instantly made the connection with these very playful, very funny videos, and then their application was good, so there was literally no reason anymore to not invite them.
So we've got 2 jugglers, Henri, 24 and Finnish, Batist, 22 and Flemish. They brought big boxes stacked with toys in a nice light wooden studio on an industrial park next to a shipyard, where they can research for 1 week. I interviewed them in the kitchen of the studio, sitting on a cozy sofa. Henri is wearing a hoodie with neon pink and green splatter print, and Batist is wearing a beige, oversized shirt and a fun black beanie. Can you tell me a bit about the research you want to do this week and the playfulness of it?
Yeah, maybe I can start with kind of describing where we got the idea. So there's a couple of ideas, but one of them at least is this kind of feeling when we graduated that now we should be adults, we should be serious, right? And try to think of our life in a way that always pushes us forward in a financial way and in this kind of capitalistic way of thinking, right? So then we were thinking, how could we still keep this playful kind of a bit like this kids energy inside us? And then we got inspired to, hey, what if we on purpose juggle with toys that we find in toy stores and secondhand markets and so on, and try to still show that we can create something for adults by being playful still ourselves.
How did you guys meet?
So we both studied in Code Art Circus Arts, and I was 1 year ahead of him. So when I was in second year, Batist came to school the first year, and then quite quickly we started to practice a bit together juggling, and then slowly from there we started to envision working together and so on. Yeah.
What's the first thing you remember of Henri, of seeing Henri?
I think in the beginning I was mostly remembering him being very impressive with the juggling that he does, because I come from a youth circus where there wasn't a lot of diabolo that was very like high level, and also I had never met a Finnish person in my life so closely. I had been in Finland once, but that it was a new chapter, a new world to get used to. But I figured out after a while that I really like Scandinavian people, so it's very nice.
You may wonder, just like me, where the name Jam Shenanigans comes from.
Kind of where it came from is this, we called, when we were playing or juggling together in school, we called it jamming, as in when musicians jam together. This is where it comes from. And then shenanigans is, for us, was an intriguing word because it's this kind of doing an action without a clear purpose, or in a bit this jokey way. So then we combined these two. It was like jamming and jamming what? Shenanigans.
Since juggling and playfulness is at the core of their research this week, we'll talk a lot about how they became a juggler and what's so fun about being a juggler. Batist discovered it in school, and Henri used to play a Nordic sport called floorball, when one advice changed the course of his life.
It is the combination of something that is very much a puzzle, meditation, and a creative output. So it's kind of that thing that became super intriguing for me, that it was first more a skill thing, but now it's more a creativity and a meditation for me, and an outlet to talk about myself or to talk about things that I want to address. And this is now what has become my interest in juggling, I would say.
I used to be the goalkeeper, which already involved a lot of coordination with catching the ball with your hands and so on. And then my coach suggested to me that I should learn to juggle to improve my coordination. Then quite quickly I realized that this is even more fun than the floorball. So quite ironically, I decided to quit. So I like to make the joke, I don't know if this is true, but I like to make the joke that from that day onwards, the coach never suggested any goalkeeper to juggle.
What's the most fun of being a juggler?
Oh, I don't know. Do you have a clear answer? Maybe you can answer first.
For me, it shares the core of what is fun in circus. I think is that a juggler can do so many things. It is undefined what juggling is, or it's my own definition what juggling is. Therefore, I could throw a glass in the air and call it juggling, or I could throw a plane, or I could dance with a chair and call it object manipulation. I think there is just it's a free language in which I can define for myself what I am doing, and I can find through the tools I've had before with any new object in the world. I could say I could juggle it, and this is, I think, something that I've become very happy with, that I can juggle anything, and juggling can be anything, and it's such a free space to working and to create and to play with.
Yeah, for me it's I first of all agree a lot with what Batist said, and I share the same value, but for me it's also a lot about never really reaching the limit, kind of. And by limit now I meant skill. So I feel like there's always, all the time, something more to learn, something more to master. And another thing is, what I already noticed now that I'm doing is I picked up this candle from the table here, and already just doing a little manipulation here. It's somehow this feeling that, yeah, kind of what Batist said, there's almost anything in a room can be juggled.
This made me think of research that has been done some years ago. Did you know that our brain is built in such a way that when we see right angles, like squares and triangles, we associate it with fear and anxiety? But when we look around at round and curved forms and balls, our mind is relaxed and at ease and joyful. So no wonder that juggling has been popular for at least 4,000 years. That's right. Thanks to Egyptian drawings found on the tomb of Beni Hassan, dated 4,000 years back, we know that people have been juggling. From the fun in juggling in general to the playfulness of their research this week.
I can show, or like through our research, I want to show that we can all keep our inner child and this playfulness alive, with showing that it's a useful tool for any age to keep, and that it's not something we have to lose when we feel like the society is pushing on us to grow up or to leave it behind, because there's something so valuable in it. Even though even in the most serious things in life, there is a value in playing, in looking at things from different perspectives. It's such a tool for creativity and for new ideas.
And then I came across an interesting concept. I didn't know there was a word for it, or maybe Henri&Batist invented a word for it. It's the verb to jugglify. And this jugglifying happens a lot during their research this week. What is the concept of jugglifying?
Kind of what we try to do is that we take the essence of a toy. So let's say this foam glider, for us, we quickly figured the essence is this glide. It has this magical effect that it will not want to go on the ground. And then we try to jugglify it. So it's a term we try to use to kind of find the possibilities. What are the unconventional ways of throwing this airplane, the different ways to catch it, finding new rhythm with it.
For me, jugglifying can be used in two ways. So Henry has used it in one way, but for me, jugglifying is taking an object and looking at it from purely a juggling's perspective. So this I mean from the base of juggling. So what we all learn is a 3-ball cascade or a certain pattern or a certain movement, and take any object and see what its uses and how to do that movement. And I think the way we talk about jugglifying, which is I think a different way than it's mostly used, is that we try to take a toy or an object and jugglify it without losing the essence of the toy. I could take the plane and just do a normal throw as I would do with a club or a diablo or a ball with it, and then I'm jugglifying it pure to the definition of jugglifying. I'm just juggling with a different object. Like I could juggle a 3 cascade with any object, because as long as the size and the weight is okay, let's say it like that. But each object has its own identity and its own specific shape, specific weight, balance, and its specific essence, and we try to jugglify it with staying true to that, so that it opens new possibilities and stays like true to the object, so the object has its place to shine and tell its story, basically.
I saw these boxes with all different types of toys. Are there different categories of toys that you've chosen to research? Can you tell me a bit more about that?
Yeah, so kind of how we began the research and how we decided what we want to buy is just purely from ideas we got when we were writing applications and trying to figure out the whole idea of the show. And since then we've come to realize that there is definitely different categories. So for example, the plane is for us a flight toy, and we also have a little self-flying drone that would fit this category. Then there are toys such as you already saw the racetrack in there. Yeah, this is maybe more like a ground toy or a toy that goes from point A to point B. And in these kind of ways we try to categorize them a bit.
Many of the ideas that we actually do in the show, or like the starting points, come from our childhood dreams or from our childhood inspiration. And it is what Henri said, it's about sharing these things that we desired as a kid, and when we now look back upon from our perspective in life, it's very satisfying and very like intriguing to look back on them and to see how I now change my perspective upon them and try to share them from my juggling perspective or my artistic perspective that I now have, and share this with an audience to try and invite them to look back on their desires and their hobbies and their toys and or whatever it may be from the past, and see are there any connections they have lost, and why did they stop playing, or why did they stop having a connection with this, because back then they liked it, so maybe there's something missing or something cut off.
And how's the process been so far? Was it hard or easy breezy?
It's definitely not super easy. I think this is at least what I felt. The hardest part so far about this week was being able to bring all the props we wanted to bring here to Amsterdam from Rotterdam. So the logistical difficulty of traveling has been the hardest.
But in the process itself of being here in a week, how is that for you?
For me, like creative process, it's the hardest to set stuff or to go towards a clear scene or towards a clear sequence, because I think that the topic we have chosen is very wide and can go anywhere, and we also have thousands of ideas that feel we all want to discover them, but there's no time or no money or no space or no toys to try everything that we want. So at some point it has to come towards some kind of direction. It is really a puzzle on how exactly what is the best decision to reach that goal.
These guys just graduated from school, and I asked them, how do they see themselves in 20 years from now?
Yes, it's almost half of or doubling my age now, so... Ooh, wow. I mean, I dream that by that point me and Batist would have like our company would be very well established. We've been talking about ideas of kind of other people creating shows under our name as well. So we would imagine that Shenanigans could be a bigger organization in this way. I envision also having done some solo work for myself, shows, and one big dream of mine has also been to be able to have gathered enough skill that let's say, for example, circus schools would ask me to come and direct a group show, similarly to how they asked people when we were studying. So kind of also giving back in this way.
As Henri said, have something that is a broader umbrella for social projects, for bigger 10 circuses, for street performances, for whatever it is that is my desire, or our desire as an artistic person to bring back to the society.
Something I ask all makers for a week is how they describe themselves as an animal. I think it's a fun way to get to know them better in a playful way. Henri was looking for the word to describe his spirit animal, and it's a meerkat.
When I've been watching videos, they seem like they're kind of all over the place all the time, having a bit hard time focusing, and I somehow identify with this. And maybe for me it's not so much I don't move my head in a similar way as the meerkat, but it's more this constantly grabbing onto some object, playing around with it a bit, feeling a bit this like having to all the time do something.
What about you, Batist?
There's a lot of different animals in my head, but I would say my first answer would have been the meerkat. But
did you know this from each other?
not at all.
Wow.
But there's like two, there's a lot more animals that have like specific like traits that are very intriguing to me. I as a kid was super fascinated by a chameleon, just because of how adapted it is, and both in color, speed, range. So I think that's a very nice animal I relate to. So anteater, just because anteater has some very specific techniques of getting out the ants of their nest, and it is very intriguing for me how they are so strategic and so involved with using objects and their tongue as an object in a way of getting their stuff done. So I think this is very cool, a cool thing of an animal to have.
Back to the present. 2 days after our interview, Henri&Batist presented their research to a small audience. Benjamin Kuitenbrouwer, aka Monkey, housemaker of Tent, was there.
What I saw on Friday, and we also spoke about that, is so far they've gone into playing. They have all the toys to play with, but what we've not seen yet is their relationship to that playfulness, and their maybe struggle with that playfulness. And it was really nice to talk with them. When we came together, we came to the conclusion that they had to make it even more personal.
And I don't know about you, but talking with Henri&Batist surely inspired me to jugglify more things in life. So I asked Benjamin, what will he jugglify in his life?
I enjoy the way that the jugglers approach everyday objects and change their meaning. I can't think of a way that I would apply it right now in my life, but I was somehow very inspired by their approach to. They have these baskets that are just meant to put in laundry, but they found out that if you press them together, that you release them, they spring up into the air. And there's such a wonderful playfulness in just that they have found that out and that they share that with us. And to me, such a reminder of the beauty for me of circus, and the beauty, the strength of this sort of this. Well, first of all, this amazing playfulness of like there's this sort of why not question in everything. It's like, can it also do this? That I really appreciate, and that I think goes way farther than just playfulness, but it's an actual sort of questioning of like, sure, we use it like that, that's how we do it, but we could also do other things with it. So for me, there's a cool sort of questioning of norms in there, almost, if you want to take it sort of.
So maybe next time you'll fold your laundry, or you'll do your laundry, you'll do it differently.
That's a good one. I'll do it because I don't like folding laundry, so I'll jugglify my laundry next time. Nice.
This was the 3rd episode of the 2nd season of Circus Whispers. Please subscribe to be the first to hear the next episodes. The next episode is with Javi Cobb. Thanks very much for listening. We'd love to hear what you think of these series. Drop us a line via tent.eu or message me directly on Insta via muismaaike. Circus Whispers is a production of Tent House for Contemporary Circus, hosted, produced and edited by me, Maaike Muis. Big word of thanks to Batist van Bakel and Henri Kangas, Jahid Metin, Benjamin Kuitenbrouwer from Tent. The makers of a week in 2022 are Arend de Jonge, Jorga Lok, Javi Cobb, Jam Shenanigans, Maria Madeira and Petra en Felix. Tent is supported by the Amsterdam Fonds voor de Kunsten, Dutch Performing Arts Fund and Prins Bernhard Cultuurfonds. More info via tent.eu. Circus Whispers.